It's been a while since I've done that. Have you ever done that before? Eye to eye?
Diego and I did it after your birthday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was really fun.
It's interesting, huh?
Now I want to do it again with him.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, what'd you notice?
Like, my body relaxed after a while. You just settle in. You're like, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah.
You know?
And your brain feel like wants to like
Yeah.
do something, but it has to like it can't grab words, so it like is looking for something, and then it can't.
Yeah.
Can't like attach to anything, so it's like all you can do is breathe and just be. Yeah, it's very relaxing, isn't it? It like I feel like it puts down a veil or a wall between energies between people, and it's like, whoa, we get to be here with each other, and
Yeah.
it's okay. I don't have to hide behind anything. Yeah, it's interesting. Can you imagine? I did that for 3 hours.
I can't. I can't imagine. I mean, I'm so like, I noticed that with my eyesight, I'm so the opposite of tunnel vision a lot of the time with visual things. Like I love to bird watch, and so I'm always like looking for birds or just looking at the surroundings, and so it's not very often that I just zone in on looking at somebody in the eye, you know? Different.
It's very different. Yeah, if you do it for longer, I notice like people's faces change, and like there's more colors. It's very interesting. Yeah, like about 30 minutes in, it gets really interesting.
You start to notice different things about their eyes.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Obviously not now because we have to be 6 feet apart, but yeah, normally you would do it like 2 feet apart. Yeah, it's pretty profound. It's like there's a mask that we put on with words. We always think we have to be talking, I guess, and rarely do we just chill with each other. I guess if you're with somebody a lot, there's definitely those moments of quiet times together. I'm sure with you and Diego.
Depending on who you are.
Yeah.
He thinks I talk a lot. Sometimes we have whole conversations where I'll just talk, and then I don't know, maybe about the cats or something, for example. Like I'll spend 5 minutes just thinking, like we were talking earlier, I wish we could know what they're saying when they're meowing, because I love my kitties.
Yeah.
And I'll just go on and on and on about their personalities, and he'll have no input, and I'll be like, that was a great talk.
He's a perfect man. He just listens.
He's a really great listener.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is you think that people who don't talk back are not always listening, because I think we fall into this mindset of like everybody's kind of like us, which is not true. I think that some people, me for example, in order to be actively listening, I have to be verbally interacting with you, and that might just be like saying okay or or like wow.
Yeah, feedback.
But I'm doing verbal feedback, and if I'm not doing that, then I'm probably zoning out.
Oh, it keeps you...
It keeps me engaged, but like not everybody's like that. So Diego listens and absorbs everything without giving a word of input. And so he'll come back and remember everything that I had said, and I was like, I can't believe you're actually listening, you know?
Wow.
So it just goes to show you that everybody's... you can't really assume that everybody's like you, you know, in the way that they are and their personalities, or I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's like kids, right? Like they were raised in the same family, the same house, but they're like so different.
Yeah.
Like what is that?
We're born with differences.
Yeah. Because you can do the nature versus nurture argument, but like even twins.
Yeah, and even babies.
Yeah.
Babies are different from other babies, and I don't think that's nurture.
Mm-hmm. What do you think it is?
I think it's nature. I think that we have natural proclivities towards certain ways of being and personalities, and then whatever happens to you just reinforces that. So nurture is really important, and it can I think that your nature gives you kind of like different paths that you could go down, and then whatever nurturing you have supports those different paths. But not everybody is given the same paths when they're born.
Hmm. Yeah. There's so many different intricacies of every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could web out to quite a different paradigm. Do you think? Go ahead.
But like Enneagram and stuff, I think you're born with your personality type.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're big time in the Enneagram. I forgot about that. Well, I did like mad research on it. I did like this 10-hour series on YouTube with Richard Rohr, and he spends an hour on each number, and then an introduction and a summary. And what he was saying, what I've gathered from it, is that we unconsciously choose our number. It's not really given to us. Like we unconsciously choose it as a survival mechanism.
As a baby?
Probably once we can start making conscious choices. So once, based on like your nature and nurture and like how you decide to navigate in this world that's potentially dangerous, especially as a kid, there's 9 avatars you can choose, and you just lean towards the one that's the easiest for you to put on. So like I went to the 9, but it doesn't mean that I am a 9. It just means this is my defense. Yeah, my ego or my armor. And so it's cool about the Enneagram. It's showing you like, okay, you chose this unconsciously. It's not who you are. Don't let it define you. But it's skills and values that you've developed to survive in this world. And you're more than this number. That's why I really like the Enneagram, because it's not like other personality tests are telling you who you are. This one's telling you what you think you are, and here's a way like through it to a more profound, deeper you. And then you can also notice how other people kind of defend themselves or navigate themselves in the world in a defensive kind of way, and you can like see through it and be like, oh, they're just defending themselves, maybe consciously or unconsciously, and then you give more grace and forgiveness to them and to myself too. Like I learned like it's okay to express my needs and wants and like embrace conflict, because 9s are really bad at that. I forgot you're an 8, right?
With a 9 wing.
The 9 wing. I'm a 9 with a 1 wing. 8's really hard for me to like get into. Like I'm just flying with 1 wing on my circles. The others are saying if you can fly with both numbers on either side, you can fly straight and higher. So it's good to embrace your side numbers. Is 7 hard for you to? Because that's your other wing, right?
I feel like I fly with my 7 wing too.
Oh, look at you.
It's fun.
Bounced Katie.
I mean, who doesn't want to have parts of 7 in them?
Yeah, 7's the funnest one.
Everybody wants to be a 7.
It's funny though, it's tricky being a 9 because 8s are so conflict driven and 9s are the opposite. So it's very tricky for me to embrace my 8 wing.
Well, what's really weird is like me being an 8 with a 9 wing. It's a huge conflict of interest because like we took it.
Should I pause it?
Yeah.
And we're rolling. So we're talking about the Enneagram. Did you learn about like when you're healthy, you go to a different number, and when you're unhealthy, you go to another number? So like when I'm really healthy, I go to all the healthy attributes of a 3, and when I'm super unhealthy, I bypass my unhealthy 9 to the unhealthiest 6. Yeah. So if I have high anxiety, then I know that I'm super not in a healthy spot. That's what I like about it. It gives you like a roadmap out.
Yeah.
So if you know like, oh wow, I'm exuding the unhealthy part of my unhealthy number, I need to like rethink some stuff right now in my life.
Yeah, it gives you the red flags.
Yeah, it gives you the red flags, yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah, that's why I love it. It's a total roadmap. I think that's how it was designed to be. Yeah. Do you know the history on it?
It has a very long history.
Yeah, it's pretty ancient.
Yeah.
It started with like mystic monks, I believe, and then the Sufi tradition took it, I think, and like fine-tuned it, and then it was like rediscovered by somebody who brought it to the West like years later. But yeah, it's pretty ancient. Like it has the 7 deadly sins in it, like all the vices for 7 of the numbers, and then they added to, I think it was anxiety and deceit. So the deceit of the 3 and the anxiety of the 6, and then all the other ones are the other 7, because each number has its vice and then a virtue to get out of the vice. So did I share that matrix I made when I was doing my research with you. Like
No.
I kind of put it all into like everything I studied. I'm like, how do I condense this into something that I could just look at and explain? So I put it in this matrix. So I'll share it with you.
And how did you hear about the Enneagram?
My dad, when I was like 20, he shared it with us. So I've known about it for 20 years, and I thought I was a 7 when I first learned about it, but it took me another like 16, 17 years to realize that I'm an actual 9. Because we were always looking at the positives of each one. Oh, I'm feeling really good about it, but it's deeper than that. It's like, no, look at who you are.
What your fears?
Yeah, like who you are when you're unhealthy is going to be the same, usually same pattern, but who are you when you're healthy? You have more versatility, so you can tap into the other numbers. And so I realized, oh, when I'm a 9, I withdraw and I avoid conflict. Yeah, I'm a 9.
Totally.
I withdraw big time. Yeah, it's not healthy.
Yeah, that's part of when 8's, I'm an 8. When I'm unhealthy, I go to 5, which is like isolate
Mm-hmm.
and withdraw,
Mm-hmm.
but in like a secretive way.
Mm.
Like, yeah, I always know when I feel really isolated that I'm getting into that zone.
How did you discover the Enneagram?
A spiritual teacher that I was seeing and like
Local?
doing classes with. No, up in Seattle.
In Seattle. Wow.
Yeah, I was having a lot of personal problems.
Sure.
And when I learned about that, she typed me, after a couple sessions, and she was like, I think after just one, she was like, I think you should look into this. She's an expert on the Enneagram, and I had no doubts when I read it. I was like, oh yeah, this is me 100%. And then I just started exploring it and doing research on my type and on my own. And then I really love like helping other people figure out what they are too.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I don't know, some people learn about it and they don't really want to know because they don't want to be put in a box. Other people, they just want to know their type and know about their type. And then there's like the next level, which I fell into, was like, oh, I want to know about all the types and I want to know about everyone, and really learn more about it and help other people find their types. And I think it can create a lot of positivity in people's lives because it can help you transcend your own personality's like faults and like the worst things about you, I think.
Yeah, it makes you more observant about your reactions.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. It's interesting how I rediscovered it. It was through facilitating, and these corporate groups were like, we want to do something on the Enneagram. I was like, what? Enneagram? Okay. So I give me a month or 2 months, I'll study it, and then we'll do a workshop on it. That was the one I did in Bend. I don't know.
Yeah, you told me about it.
So, and it was a corporate group. It was a corporate group that helps other corporate groups. And then that wasn't the first one. There was a few others, and then also a lot of Brene Brown stuff. And what I'm noticing is that both the Enneagram and Brene Brown have a similar common denominator, and it has to do with self-worth. So if you believe that you're innately worthy of love and belonging, you can transcend your fear reactions or your anger reactions or your shame reactions and get to more of a healthy state, more of a responsive state. And what's given me hope about it is like, this isn't something that I sought out and I'm going to do these workshops or whatever. It's like corporate groups are coming to me and others with this stuff. And if the corporations run the world, if the corporate heart is changing, then the world's going to change. So to me, it's like a really cool way of seeing optimism of where our world's headed. I know there's ups and downs, but I think it's an upward trend, and this is one of the major ones. So instead of avoiding corporate or saying corporate's bad, if it changes from the inside or transforms from the inside, it's going to transform the world. So corporations will start making healthier choices, better choices for themselves and others, as opposed to just getting the numbers. Like there'll be more humanity in it. I hope. So yeah, and I think growth in all directions is healthy. I think growth for individuals and where you're getting your growth and they grow in their ways, like it helps each other out. Did you ever listen to Radio Lab? Did you see?
Heard it.
You heard the one on emergence? Like how one flower shop opens up on a block and it's really popular, and then that whole block is more flower shops. So it's like the block of flower shops, and they kind of like people come there for flowers, and they, instead of competing, they actually help each other out in a weird, big picture kind of way. Um, so if one healthy thing emerges, it can splinter off into, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you have a unique niche with working with horses, right?
Yeah. The ability to go really deep with groups. It's more like, I mean, it's, we don't like to say it's like therapy because people, they don't want to bring their teams and do therapy. But whenever we have teams out here, it's like they really need to process shit with each other. It's not team building. It's way past leadership development. It's like they need to process stuff together on like an emotional therapeutic level.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But we would never get people in the door if that's what we were trying to sell.
Yeah. And
it just unfolds naturally. And it doesn't have to go there. It can be light and fun. But there's just something about the horses that brings out like a vulnerable and like a very deep, kind of scary place for people.
Yeah.
In like a really good growth way.
For sure. Because they're massive creatures.
Because they're big.
Yeah, they're big.
And just being near them, you realize how small you are and how vulnerable you are.
Were you born into that? Raised with equine? Or was it's equine, right?
Equine therapy?
Yeah.
No. My mom started doing that probably like 10 or 15 years ago. So, kind of something that's been in my family for a while, but not since I was a kid.
What was like your first impression and where you were like, whoa, this is profound? Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, my mom and her mental health professional that she works with did a session for me, like a demo to show me what it's like with my horse, and it was very profound. And like the way she was acting was mirroring the way I was feeling, and I was really angry, and she was kicking out at me, which she never did, and it was really eye-opening.
Would you say you're angry a lot?
No. It's situational.
Yeah, I just bring that up because the Enneagram in our triad, the 8, 9s, and 1s, anger is something that we
go to a lot?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess I do go pretty easily to anger, but like if I can find a way to get it out of my body, then I can pass over it pretty easily.
Yeah.
Like talking, venting. You know, it's hard for me to sit and think on a situation before just acting, and sometimes I can say something that might hurt someone because I just need to get it out. And then as soon as I've said something that's like, this is how I feel about the situation, then I immediately start to feel better.
That's an 8 right there.
Yeah.
A little East Coast too.
Yeah. And then I can move on from it. But if I never get the chance to say how I feel, then I just stew on it.
Yeah. I need to be better at that. Is that something that you were always good at as a kid? Or is that something you had to learn how to express? Like how you feel?
I think it's been pretty natural for me.
Yeah. Have you noticed that's difficult for some people to handle?
Yeah. Definitely. Although it's funny, I have a lot of people in my life who just know me and they're fine with that.
Yeah, I sense you're pretty comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're tiptoeing around and trying to be this certain way or this person that you're not, then you're going to attract people who like that person that you're pretending to be.
Yep.
And you don't want that. Like,
yeah, it's draining, isn't it? Richard Rohr was saying that like every 7 minutes the 9s take in a wave of energy, and it's so overwhelming then we take it in through our gut, and it's so overwhelming that it's just easier to just not engage with it. And so that's why we like keep the peace and withdraw a lot, because it's already just too much, and it takes our heart and our head a while to process it all. So a lot of times people are like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong.
You're just processing.
Yeah, I'm just processing. Something feels wrong, but I don't know what it is yet. And then when I'm ready to like communicate it, it's too far gone and it's weird to bring up. And so it's like, all right, well, it's just easier to withdraw and just deal with it on my own. So it's tricky. It's very tricky.
Do you feel like you're more of an internal processor or an external?
Depending on the situation, I think when it comes to emotions, I'm more internal. When it comes to like problem solving, like there's a situation we need to figure out, like at work or something, I'll be more external. Yeah, through dialogue, I can figure it out really fast, the problem. But yeah, when it comes to emotion, I gotta go for a run or spend a day just processing it. So I'm learning to say, let me get back to you.
Yeah. I know. When I get nervous, I just say yes to things, or I don't think about them, and I'm like, okay, sure, yeah. And then 5 minutes later, I'll be like, shit, I don't really want to do that, or no, like I don't want to go to that event, or so.
And now you're stuck in it.
And now I'm stuck in it because I don't like to flake.
Exactly.
So now I try to do that same thing. Like, you know what? Let me think about it.
Yeah.
Let me get back to you.
Yeah.
Then you have time to check in with yourself.
Yeah. I think maybe it comes down to, yeah, like you say, really asking yourself what you want, and know that money isn't necessarily going to get you there. Think of it as like it's like an energy transfer, right? Like a free market, I think, is good, you know, because like I'm not always going to want to trade eggs for pies. You know, like the bar system's cool, but I think it has a healthy place in, okay, I can store this energy with money and then get something that I really want in a given situation. I think when it like piles up and it becomes like, okay, I have like $1 million and it's just sitting there doing nothing, it's just stagnant energy, right? It's not in motion. So I think to put that stuff in motion is important. Like when eBay started, all this stuff got liquidated that was just sitting in people's storage units or garages, and it totally helped the economy, right? Because all that energy got released. So I think that might be a healthier way of looking at money. Something that needs to be in motion, as opposed to just hoarding it. I think it's good to like have savings and stuff and like investments, but not to the point where it's overly, when you know, it's about the numbers as opposed to like a purpose.
Totally.
So
well, also, and that number could just disappear at any moment. So if you're living a life where you're so dependent on money, then maybe you need to rethink things a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like, what if you lost all your money? What if your retirement fund in the stock market just went away? Because it could do that. Mm-hmm. Do you have a way to like grow some of your own food? Do you have a way to actually survive if you didn't have any money? Like, we might be entering into a time now where it's not going to be so easy to get a job. Mm. And skills like farming and gardening and things that can make it, I mean, the other thing we might face here is like a lot of inflation, and if you can grow some of your own food, you're going to be cushioned against that a little bit. You know?
Yeah. Why inflation?
Well, because they're cutting stimulus checks to everyone and all the companies, and you and your mom and my mom. And,
yeah.
You know, and I think that, where does that money come from?
Just print it off.
Yeah, are they just printing it? And is that going to cause the cost of living to go up? I don't know. I mean,
it might buffer. It might buffer like, for a bit, but
economics is like way more complicated than than what I can really comment on, but I'm just saying that at any moment, that number on the screen could just not be worth what it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still all you have, unless you have like a diversified skill set and a little bit of space to be able to grow your own food and actually have real skills like doing tractor work for your neighbors. Or I mean, I live here on a farm, so that's like that's where I'm going, is I want to be able to have skills in a farm rural setting that I could put to use if I needed to, if my office job or my receptionist, like, or if my job at Tree to Tree fell through for some reason, you know?
So just more practical skills.
Yeah.
More direct. Do you think people are going to live more locally with their resources?
Yeah. I mean, heck, the poultry industry that sells like chicks for people to raise in their backyard for either eggs or meat, they're completely booked. Like, you can't buy chicks right now.
Oh, yeah?
Seeds, organic seeds, every single website that I've ever bought organic seeds from, they're not even taking orders until next month. Everybody wants to be a farmer all of a sudden. Yes, I think 100% people are realizing that, you know, first of all, the money they had in the stock market isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's gone down so much. And then second of all, they realize that there's food shortages only because people are hoarding, but like at any moment there's only 3 days worth of food in grocery stores for our population. Like, that's a pretty precarious place to be. So yeah, I think that when there's a lot of uncertainty, people do get more local. They want to have connections with local farms. They want to be growing their own food. They want to be doing whatever they can to cushion themselves from being so dependent on the economy being in a good place.
Yeah. What's essential for, like, say we had to go straight survival? What's essential if you didn't have the grocery stores, right? Like,
yeah.
how do you create a sustainable system that
you
will
would
last?
need connections with other people who are growing or producing other things that you're not growing or producing. You would need knowledge of how to preserve food, because you can't grow everything all year round.
Yeah, so food preservation, like in the winter.
Yeah.
But like places in the world that it's just the same temperature year round, don't have to worry about that necessarily.
Yeah.
But more like the 4-season areas.
Well, I guess, but there's still a season. Like,
That's true.
you know, even if you live in a tropical place and you have a mango tree, there's still a mango season. You
Okay.
can't eat mangoes year round.
Okay.
So you might want to
Mangoes.
dehydrate some. Mangoes.
Dehydrated mangoes
It's
are so
really
good.
But yeah,
What about water? Do you think water is going to be an issue?
yeah, I think it will be.
How's that going to work? That areas that don't have a lot of water.
Well, in areas that don't have clean water, especially areas where companies are polluting the water, and the groundwater is either getting sucked up and used by companies, or it's being polluted. And I mean, it's a huge problem. It's a really sad thing that's happening.
Hopefully the corporate heart will change. So it'll be what's that word? I guess the transfer of the water, like ability to distribute water to places that need it. Yeah, this one guy, the guy who foresaw the housing market crash in 2008, he's investing in almond farms, because not for the almonds, but for the wells, because they have the deepest wells.
Really?
Because almonds take so much water to grow. So these areas so he's doing it for the water resource. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that. Diego and I watched The Big Short last week.
Yeah.
And he was doing some research about, like, I wonder what he's doing now.
Yeah.
And he was like, he's investing everything in water.
Yeah. It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary.
The genius among us.
Yeah, he's looking at water, so he knows something we don't know. He's very like a long-term kind of guy too. Like he really just sees things for how they are, very realistic. So something to pay attention to. I have a life straw. Do you have one of those or know what that is?
I've heard of it. We have a Berkey filter.
Okay.
So similar. I mean, it doesn't use the same filtration, but we have a way to filter pretty much any kind of water we want to drink.
Well, here in Oregon, like Northwest Oregon, pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of water around us. There's Hag Lake and the mountain.
It rains a lot, but it rains less and less every year, I feel like.
Do you think now that like the whole world's slowed down, that the environment has significantly changed and it will like be better?
Pollution levels are down.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy because environmentalists have been trying to get us to slow down, and companies and people and corporations have always just said, no, we can't live like that. No, we can't live with those kinds of limitations that it would take to slow down pollution. But from one day to the next, all of a sudden we are all living like that. And those of us that are healthy are surviving. Of course, there's lots of people dying, but they're not dying from lack of, consumption or like because the economy isn't, well, it's complicated. I think a lot of people are suffering from losing their jobs, and in this country we're fortunate. We have unemployment, we have food stamps, we have state health care, but in other countries, like, people have just lost their jobs and they don't have any way to buy food for their families. And so
what are they doing then?
I think people are starving.
Are there riots? Have they started yet? Or do you think that's going to be a thing?
Not that I know of, but think about it. Like, what would you be doing now if you weren't, you can include this or not, but what would you do if you weren't collecting unemployment? What would I do if I wasn't collecting unemployment? How would I be buying food and groceries?
Yeah.
How could I be living?
Well, like you said, the skill set thing, I would be putting all my skills in full force. Like full
Your
force.
real skills.
Yeah, like
you're like building,
yeah. All the
Totally.
practical skills. I'd go
And
all
if you
out.
didn't have any of those skills, what if you were working in the corporate world and all you knew was how to market shoes?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. Yeah, I would be way more ambitious about finding money. I think though too, like in my situation, I have family that are well off, so I have that as a safety net too. Like I could go live with them and be taken care of. Like I got several, but that's not an option for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's a cushion.
Yeah.
It's a privilege.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I think we could live more simply and the planet would be a lot better off. We're all living more simply now.
I hope that's the big takeaway. My brother says, in a weird big picture kind of way, that he hopes this lasts a little bit longer, so it really sets in as a consciousness, as a humanity, like how much better life is when we live a simpler way.
And when you're not obsessed with busy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope I'm a workaholic, so I hope I learned that. I don't think I've learned it yet. I still find myself not having enough time just with all my creative outlets. I'm still, when I don't have to, I still put that pressure on myself. That's a problem. I think because I feel validated by accomplishments, and I need to figure out why and what that is. Find a deeper validation, inner validation. Because that's like chasing the carrot, not enjoying the carrot. I think I chase it more than enjoy it. Yeah.
but at least you're chasing the carrot for your own passions and things that you want to do.
Currently, yeah. It's exciting. My brother says too, like, he hopes that there's like a once a year celebration, or not, I don't know, or remembrance of this time where we all as a world don't don't do factory stuff, don't work like for a week or something or a month or I don't know how long, but that would actually have a significant benefit to our environment. Because even after, what was it, like a week or something? Do you know the air was like cleaner?
Within days.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, everything's more crisp. Smells different. The water at Hag Lake is clear.
Really?
At least that's what I'm noticing.
Wow.
I don't know. It's still getting used, so I don't know. Maybe the runoff is cleaner. But yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, are you optimistic with all this ultimately, or what do you think?
I am. I think that's going to be a big wake up call for people. I think that they're going to wake up to the fact that they spend the majority of their waking hours working, and that's not contributing to their full life. You know, there's no time to live a full life outside of your 40-hour work week. And I think people are going to get used to spending a lot of time with their kids, with their families. They're going to get used to living a full life. And when this is over, they're not going to want to go back to what they were doing before.
What do you think the new normal will be?
I don't know. Maybe I'm not really sure. Maybe people will just live more simply and not have to work as much. You know? You can have a good life and make less.
Less is more.
Yeah.
How about with social media and technology? Because I feel like I know I'm spending more time on my phone. So how does that, like, because I know that's not always healthy too.
Yeah. Not sure about that. Yeah, I think a lot of people are spending more time on social media now. It's kind of interesting though. Like, I feel more connected. I guess I haven't been interacting with other people on social media as much as like calling and talking to people in my family and my friends that we normally don't have that much time to call and talk for an hour or whatever. And it's funny because I'm more isolated than ever from everyone, but I feel more connected than ever because I'm able to call and talk to my uncles and my cousins that I don't really talk to that often.
Yeah. I feel like there's less superficial interaction, like when before it was a bunch of interactions, but they were mostly superficial, like a means to an end for like job related or whatever, as opposed to like a real, hey, I want to connect with you. Like, how are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you find, and then those people, like, it filters out the people that you actually want to have a real conversation with versus those that you're like, no, I don't. That's not my cohort or my pod.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm realizing who my pod is, and like, and then I ask myself, is that pod a group of people that I've chosen, or is that pod a group of people that have been given? It might be a little bit of both, but I feel like there's certain family members or friends that it's like, oh, these are like lifers, and they're like a gift. So I guess my choice is maybe appreciating them more, checking in more, because I am realizing from this, I definitely am more isolated than I thought before this all happened, like in a superficial kind of way. Unconscious. Yeah. It's interesting. Well, I think that's pretty good. Any last thoughts, Katie? How long have we known each other? We met at Tree to Tree.
5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what year I started working there.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2015 or 16?
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to look.
Yeah. Well, I enjoy our friendship.
Yeah, me too. It's been great having you out today.
Yeah.
To the farm.
Yeah. It's a great place. It's a slice of heaven.
I know. I'm very privileged. I feel bad saying that people should grow their own food because not everybody has the opportunity to do that. I know it's a huge privilege. But it's something I'm gonna take advantage of because I do have the opportunity to do that, and I want to help other people have access to good food too that's farm raised. You know.
Mhm.